This is the instructional how-to video for the Felix Irving concession trailer. We're going to go over the functions, operations, and shutdown procedures of your brand new concession. Open up our 36-inch access door. We've got our 100 amp panel here in all 20 amp independent circuits. Power cord running down through the cable hatch itself. We have our battery for our 12 volt lighting system, our battery charger, we have our water pump, fresh water tank, we have our water heater here, already plugged in, hot water already there for this video. Outside lights on, working. Flip up counter. Lay down in place like this for transit. Using the middle screw as a guide point. Once you get to the 90-degree mark, pressing upward allows these pins to roll outward so that it can be set up in place. We've got crank jacks on all four corners. If you plan to use these crank jacks, no problem. You'll need a 3/4 inch socket with an impact gun. And before you do anything, you need to scotch or block the tires in such a manner that the trailer cannot move at all. As with shifting in weight and due to the trailer weight itself, that could roll those jacks over and make them break. Removable rails on all sides. I left the side railing here off, be able to access onto the porch itself. Can show you the outlets working. Oh, there we go. Real quick, go ahead and show you smoker. Temp gauges we do not put in till the day of leaving. For lower racks. Got your warming box. And then your fire box down below. Light above on the ceiling. Let's go inside. We have the first unit freezer here at -9 degrees, followed by the fridge at 31 degrees. I've got the paperwork for the cook line equipment here in the freezer itself, also the pan for the warming cabinet, and the manual handle for the crank jacks. Also the feet for the stove, which we do not use. Show these plugs working. Water pump switch located here. I've got that in off position because I'm running the pressurized water side, which you'll see here momentarily. Switch for the hood system. Got your warming cabinet turned on already. It's right here at 150 degrees. Went ahead and did a different table here because of, obviously you can see the height and not needing a table to be that tall over the warming cabinet. So we have the warming cabinet mounted down, you got your table next to it. Fire suppression tank and control head above. Pull station right here above the warming cabinet. This system is live and ready to go. It will need to be tagged and certified by your local fire suppression company and fire marshal in your hometown state. You see the nozzles here. Nobody other than a licensed fire suppression company needs to tamper with these nozzles. Filters are removable for cleaning purposes. You'll see heat sensors up above. Nobody other than a licensed company needs to tamper with those as well. Filters are removable for cleaning purposes. You can use hot water and a mild soap to wash and then thoroughly rinse and allow adequate time for them to air dry. When you put the filters back in place, you do not want a gap like this, as you can have grease blow by beyond the filters up into the extraction fan. So close those gaps up and make sure that they are sealed or as tight as possible so you don't have that grease blow by. I would set up at least quarterly or maybe twice a year visits to come out and inspect the fan up top to make sure there is no grease in that top extraction fan, to make sure everything's properly working in it. Obviously, because you don't have any deep fryers, you don't have that much grease, but you'll have the greases or grease or fats in the air from the food product you plan to cook. We'll go over lighting this equipment here in just a moment. While we're here at the sink area, before I ever plugged the water heater in, I made sure I had continuous water flow out of both faucets. Well, 115 is still climbing. We have definitely plenty enough hot water. Wheels from the equipment that we do not use, we'll put in the sink. Figured the customer might want those. If you don't want those, let us know and we will discard of them for you. Upper cabinet up in the V nose itself, 2 doors. Got your AC and heat unit, or AC side on. It's pleasantly warm here today in Tennessee. Roof vent that you can open up to allow adequate airflow to come in. If you choose to do so, just make sure that you thoroughly close that before you go into transportation, as crosswinds can break and damage that unit. Also, real quick, I did forget to mention what grease doesn't collect in the filters goes to the drip tray and goes to the grease cup. Definitely monitor that daily as well. For the cooking equipment, first we want to make sure that everything is in the off position before we ever turn that propane on. Secondary is we want to turn that extraction fan on, as you will see right here. We'll go ahead and show you this last plug working here. The reset. There we go. So for the propane itself, I'm going to turn the tank on. And we're going to go over how to properly turn the gas on and what you should be aware of. So because this gas line runs down and hugs the frame of the trailer, The important factor is paying attention to your regulator at time of startup. The reason for this being is, again, this piping hugs the frame of the trailer, and there is road debris out there, such as tires, blocks of wood, rocks, potholes, stuff like that, that can hit, break, and damage the piping. So the most important factor is when you turn this valve on, you should hear the line charge, and you might have been able to hear it in the video. It's nothing more than shh sound. If you hear continuous gas flow coming through either one of your regulators, you immediately shut this valve off and contact your local plumbing company that is certified in gas to come out and repair, replace, and fix the piping. Again, there is no event that is worth not paying attention to this and allowing continuous gas flow coming through. It is way too dangerous. Propane is heavy, it will collect under the trailer, and then at that point you're sitting on top of a bomb. Do not want that whatsoever. So with that being said, when you turn that gas valve on, sound is all you should hear. Nothing more. With that being said, we'll go inside, and that's either one of the regulators. While I'm on this side, I'll go ahead and show you this light working also. Now your lighting purpose, these stay in the off position until you have your pilot lights lit. Very simple process. You'll need plenty of these lighters. As you see here, I've just lit all 4 of these pilots. At that point, you are good to go with turning your burners on for those appliances that you have the pilot lights lit. Don't just light 1 or 2 of them. Go ahead and light all 4. That way, if somebody was to turn one of these control knobs on, if you didn't have a pilot lit, you would have a scary situation. You don't want that to happen. Go ahead and just light all your pilots. Also, you'll notice I've got the burners wrapped in place with metal wire, and due to an excessive heat, eventually this wire will break and will need to be replaced with more metal wire. Do not replace it or do not cut it off, and do not replace it till it's broke. So there's no reason to ever take and remove it unless it's broken. Wrapping that wire around the frame of the unit and the burners, twisting it with a pair of pliers, cutting it, and then folding that over, you can still put your pots and pans on here and be able to effectively work. Now, one thing that I've seen customers do before is use this equipment for heating purposes. That is a big no-no. What I mean by that is never turn that hood switch off to keep warm. It's highly dangerous. There's a couple of reasons why you don't do that. One is the burnt propane produces carbon monoxide, which is a deadly gas. That's one factor. Second factor is those heat sensors up in that hood fan, when they get above the recommended temperature that they are set at, they would pop, and then everything in this tank is going to come emitting out of these nozzles. At that point, it's going to shut your business down for about 2 weeks and cost you about $3,000 to clean up and refill. These appliances are for cooking only. They are not to keep you warm in any manner. You'll notice you've got a drip tray right below the burners. Your oven itself, 1 rack, 5 different slots. This is for controlling the oven. There is no lighter for lighting the oven needed. Lighting purposes, you'll press and hold here. Let's see if I can find the right angle. 1 second while I'm gonna lay the camera down for just a second. It's hard to do it with two hands. A little bit easier, or one hand, a little bit easier with two. There it is. Alrighty, sorry about that. So, as you can see, I'm still holding this pilot button in place. I had to press the igniter a couple of times to get that pilot light going. Again, purging the air out of the system. Sometimes that happens. But as you can see, that pilot light, as long as I can slowly release that button and keep a steady flame, as you can see here, you would be able to close that bottom panel and continue on with your day. Whenever ready, you can turn this oven to the desired temp and you would have your burner working. Again, no lighter needed for that. For the griddle, it's going to be the same situation as the burners up top on the stove. You do not need to turn these on till the pilots are lit. And do not light just one or two pilots, light them all. So, as I'd mentioned outside, propane is heavy. And so naturally the pilot is above this bent, flexible line. So all you got to do is have your lighter here at the end of it, because that propane's naturally going to fall out of that pilot itself. And it's going to be for all three of them. That is how you safely light the pilot lights on your griddle. Once you have those lit, then you can turn your burners on to your safe desired temp for food cooking. You have a grease pan here, which you need to monitor daily as well. Do take the time to look over the manuals for all of your equipment for proper cleaning and maintenance of your appliances. Big thing is you got to clean that manufacturer's oil off the griddle itself. You're going to want to do the same thing for the oven as well as refrigeration and the warming cabinet. Turn that warming cabinet off. So that's how you properly light your equipment safely. For shutdown procedure, I always want to make sure the gas is turned off. Never transport with gas going through the lines, and never leave your operation at the end of the day with gas in the lines. Always cut everything off. Once your gas is cut off, at that point then you can turn your hood fan off inside. While we're outside, we'll go ahead and go over the water itself. So we've got your water fill box. Key here, these keys are for the access door on the other side of the V-nose. We have the non-pressure side. This is for filling the freshwater tank itself and using the water pump. Periodically, you're going to need to put a little bit of bleach in there to clean that tank. Or you can do the pressurized side, which is your bypass. This is bypassing the tank and pump. You can hook up your NSF approved or food grade water hose directly to this port. Keep the water pump switch in the off position, and therefore you have continuous water flow. For your wastewater, you will remove the 3-inch cap, hook up your 3-inch RV waste hose, and then this valve pulls out of the way, releases the contents from the wastewater tank itself. Once that is finished, you can close that back up, remove your hose, and put the cap back in place for transit. I would also plan on putting some bleach in the 3-bin sinks. That way it runs down and dilutes some of the smell that can arise on a 100-degree day in the wastewater tank, especially when you're dumping the contents out of the tank, is when you could potentially smell it. For shutting down the inside, you're going to want to make sure you have that exhaust fan switch off. Again, your gas is already off before we turn that switch off itself. You want to make sure that these trays, drip pans are in a safe place for transportation. And if you have any items on the countertops itself, put them in a safe place for transit also. You want to make sure that you turn that AC and or heat unit off if you choose to use it throughout the day. Go ahead and turn the water pump switch off if you are running on the freshwater tank itself. You can turn the refrigeration off by that switch there on either one of those. If you have any food product in either one, you want to lock them up, please do so that nothing is moving while in transportation. Again, if you have that roof vent open, make sure that you thoroughly close it before transportation. And you want to make sure that you turn all of your light switches to the off position so that you are not draining the battery. If you did use the crankjacks, make sure that you pull them to an upright position for transportation itself. Also, if you have any hoses hooked up, you want to disconnect those, as well as your power source if you're on shore power. As we would always mention to every customer before they leave, make sure at any time before you go in transportation, make sure that your blinkers, running lights, and brake lights are always functioning properly. For your removable railing, you'll need to make sure you have pins, at least in the top pins itself, so that there is no chance for those to remove while in transportation. Always make sure you have adequate air pressure in your tires themselves before transportation, and also make sure that those lug nuts are always checked before you go in transportation as well. All it takes is one lug nut to come loose and the wheel will potentially come off. Don't want that to happen. Also, once a year, that little rubber cap that is on every wheel hub will need to be removed, and apply grease to the Zerk fitting behind that rubber cap. That's for all wheels. That way you have long-lasting bearing life. If you would like to do more than once a year, you can do so as needed. Want to make sure that, again, pressing back upward allows that counter to go to a downward position, as you see here, and then closing that flip up door for transportation. We thank you so much for taking the time to view this video. We make these videos to help show the customer their product before they get here and or before it gets delivered. But the primary focus is to show the customer the understanding of how to safely use their concession trailer. If you do have any questions or concerns, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. We'll be glad to assist in any way. We thank you so much for your business and wish you the very best.